Welcome to part 3 of this Football Manager 2015 experiment involving the nations of China and India. Now this is actually going to be the last part. I've decided to holiday around about 60 years. We're going up to the end of the 2098 World Cup. For those of you that have watched part 1 and 2, you'll know what I've done so far. If you haven't, make sure you check that out first. But I've basically improved the youth and a few other things of China and India, and we're seeing if they can win the World Cup. If they don't win the World Cup by the end of the 2098 World Cup, then those of you that did vote for the neither option on that straw poll in part 1 will actually be right. But perhaps China and India, or both of them, can actually win the World Cup before the end of this experiment. We'll find out today. Please hit that like button right now if you've enjoyed the series, and if you want me to do other countries in future series over the coming weeks, months, I can keep doing this. Obviously into FM16 we can continue this if you want me to. I'll try and think of innovative ways and to mix it up, because if we just do one country or two countries each time, it'll get a bit boring. So I want to do different things and different experiments, and I will mix it up a bit. But if you want to see more of this sort of thing, hit that like button, be much appreciated. Okay, we're starting with the 2042 World Cup, which you can see here was won by Brazil. They beat England in the final, but India finished third, so that's really encouraging for the future of today's part 3, because if they finish third now, maybe they can go on and win the World Cup or be runners up or something. At least let's have a look at it in detail then and see what happened and how they managed to get to the semi-finals of the World Cup. So they actually won their group ahead of Sweden, France and Egypt. Where's China? China also qualified from their group, 6 points, just behind South Africa. So second round, China lost 3-1 against Germany. That's unlucky. They came up against a tough team there. And India beat Canada 3-2. Canada, an unlikely team to get through. But we've seen some surprises in here already. It's not... obviously in the future things will change in football. So obviously FM does try to account for that. India then won their quarterfinal, 3-1 against Croatia. Very good win there. Before coming up against England in the semi-final, and they lost 1-0 in extra time. 110th minute goal from Robert Swaby defeated India. That is unfortunate, and losing against England is a bit of a blow there. And Brazil won the other semi-final. So then in the third place playoff, they did manage to beat Germany 3-1, who had already beaten China in this World Cup. So very well done to India. I don't know where they are in the world rankings. Let's have a quick look. They're 5th, all the way up in 5th. That makes sense considering they finished 3rd in the world. So well done to India. Can they push on from this and go on and try and win the World Cup? Or will they drop down again after that? China are 21st after that World Cup. Okay, so I'm going to, because we're doing 60 years, I don't want this video to be hours long. So we're going to sort of skip ahead a few years, and we'll look at some players in detail, but not too much detail this time. We're mainly looking at to see if they can win the World Cup. Okay, so I've holidayed a few more years and I've gone past the 2054 World Cup now. You can see the last 3 winners, Germany, Holland and Brazil. So once again, we haven't seen China or India win the World Cup, and they haven't actually finished in the top 3 either. Germany, Brazil, Belgium, Holland, Argentina, Italy, Brazil, Uruguay, Italy. Uruguay, an interesting nation because they're a very small country in terms of population, but they've won the World Cup twice. They always do very well in world football, so it's really not always down to population. They've got a population of 3.28 million, and they've won the World Cup twice back in the early days, and obviously done very well in football since then generally. So the fact that China and India have a huge population should mean they've got an advantage, but it doesn't always mean that's the case. So we'll look at China in detail first. They're 25th in the world at the moment. They've been 9th in the last couple of years. The guy in charge is this guy who's quite good. I think I've improved him. I put him to like the maximum possible, so he should be a decent manager. In fact, I think I improved him at this point, so I've just improved him now, and from now on he will be hopefully a quality manager, because he doesn't look spectacular there, but by improving his attributes there, he will continue to improve. Their best player doesn't actually have a club at the moment by the looks of it. Shen Yu, 30-year-old, doesn't have any club for whatever reason. Decent player, but remember, the top player here isn't always the best player in terms of current ability. We usually find a really good player further down the list or hidden away in the squad. So he's got a better current ability than Sheng Yu. Anyway, let's look at their history of the World Cup in recent years. You can see the runners-up in the Confederations Cup and the Olympic Games. But yeah, Confederations Cup runners-up, that's quite good. So World Cup, they haven't actually qualified for the last 2 World Cups. They finished 4th in the World Cup Group F. But the last 2 they haven't qualified for, which is the first time since 2022. What has gone wrong for them? That's annoying. We need them to be actually qualifying for the World Cup to be able to have any chance of winning it. Maybe India have fared better. We'll have a look at them in a second. Just going to have a look at some of their hot prospects. He's actually from Uruguay. So they've got some foreign players coming over to the Chinese league now. Look at the top club. 4-star reputation. It's certainly improved. They're the top competition in Asia, and it has been for a while. The Indian National Football League's up to 3rd. So certainly has improved, but that has encouraged other foreign players to come over and play. Zheng Lu is the top player for Shandong. Let's just have a quick look at him. 160 potential, not bad. So India have certainly fared a bit better of late. They have been up as high as 8th as well. 8th, which is one better than China in recent years. Just have a look at the world rankings here so you can compare against different nations. But how have they fared in the last few World Cups? So they have qualified for the last 3. They lost to Holland in the World Cup second round in 2046. Then they were 4th in Group H in 2050, not so good. And then they lost against Italy in the second round after extra time in 2054. So they haven't bettered those first 2 World Cups. Because remember, their first World Cup was 2038, where they got to the quarter-final. And then in 2042, they actually finished 3rd. So their first 2 World Cups were very impressive. The last 3, not so much. But they've only failed to get out the group once. China have really struggled to get out the group. And the last couple of times, they haven't even qualified, remember. This is amazing. England winning the World Cup in 2066. 100 years after they won the World Cup in 1966. That's pretty amazing, to be fair. But even more amazing, Saudi Arabia won the 2062 World Cup. What the hell? They're 10th in the world. They've been as high as 2nd in recent years. But they won the 2062 World Cup. Who's their best player? I'm just going to see how they compare against China. Their best player, apparently, 148 current ability. I suppose he might have been a bit better in recent years. But I don't think they're anything special compared to China and India. But they're winning the World Cup. And we can't get China or India to win the damn thing. Really frustrating. However, China did manage to finish 3rd in 2058, so they didn't qualify for 3 years, then they finished 3rd all of a sudden. Maybe improving their manager and a couple other things has helped that. But yeah, it's pretty frustrating they haven't managed to win still. Let's look at that 2054 World Cup in a bit more detail, just to see. No, 2058, World Cup. So group stage, let's have a quick look. And see, at top of their group, 9 points. They won every single game. I don't think India qualified. We'll have a look at them in a bit. But that's pretty annoying if they haven't done so. Second round then. They beat Croatia 2-0. Quarter-final, they beat Uruguay 1-0. And then semi-final, they lost against France 3-1, unfortunately. But third place playoff, they beat USA 2-0. Can't see that in detail, but yeah, well done to China for that. They're currently 21st in the world. They've been up and down in recent years, really ducking and diving. Zhu Li is in charge. They've got a different guy in charge now. Top players for Man City, Su Wei, 33-year-old. 108 goals in 138 games for China. What a player. How long has he been at Man City? Quite a long time. Moved for 28.5 million from PSG. So they've been doing well recently, but they still can't win the World Cup. It's very frustrating. I'm just going to have a quick look at the team, see the sort of clubs they're playing for. There's still lots of Chinese teams in there, mainly because that they have very good reputation now, some of these Chinese teams. If we go to this one, 3.5 stars. And I'm sure they've probably won the Asian Champions League a few times, these Chinese clubs. If we just have a quick look. Yeah, you can see Henan have won it a few times. And there's lots of Chinese teams in there. Shandong, Beijing. And there's a few sort of Arabic teams as well. But Henan have done particularly well over the last 3 years. I think we've only seen one Indian team win it. I may be wrong, but we saw Bengaluru FC be runners-up that year. But I think they only have won it. Mumbai FC that year, 2043. Maybe the only time. Anyway, let's go and look at India. Maybe it's helped that China now have a lot of players playing in their division. It was a hindrance to start with because it wasn't particularly good, but now it's a very good division. They're doing very well. Now, India 15th in the world. They're actually higher at the moment. I don't think they've qualified for as many World Cups in recent years. If we just go to World Cup. Yeah, they didn't qualify for the 2058 World Cup where China finished third. And then in 2062, they finished fourth in Group G and third in Group A. Actually, how does that compare to China? Because obviously they finished third that 1 year, but I can't remember where they finished in the other two. So 2062, fourth in Group F, so they didn't qualify at that group. And then second round, they lost against Argentina in 2066. So the India team, how does it compare? They've got quite a few players playing for Indian teams actually. So obviously their division has certainly improved as well. But Mumbai FC, only 2.5 star reputation. And it's actually, the division's dropped down. So that might hinder them. I don't know. We've seen them playing for big teams in Europe. But now most of them are playing in India actually. There's a Chelsea player there, Sanjesh Shamir. 25-year-old, looks very good actually. 169 current ability, looks like he's won the Euro Cup with Chelsea this season. If we look at the Asians Cup, the Asian Nations Cup, China have dominated. India had won the most up until 2047 out of the two teams. Then China, they hadn't won it at all until 2047. Then they won 4 in a row, and Saudi Arabia won the last one against China. India third. But so India have won twice. No, 3 times, sorry. And China have won 4 times now. So China have overtaken them in regards to the Asian Nations Cup. Okay, so now we're up to 2078. So we've gone 3 more World Cups. And 3 more European teams have won the World Cup. Holland, Spain and Croatia winning it. This time it's Holland in the final. So once again, no India or China in there. But China have finished third again for the second time. India and China just can't break into that final, can they? Saudi Arabia third. They've done really well recently. And that's without me having to do anything to them. So some nations do have some good youth systems built into them. I think Qatar probably do. And a few others as well. Anyway, let's look at how China and India have got on over recent years. I have made some improvements. Just a couple years ago, in fact, I paused the holidaying, and I've increased the economic factor and FA financial power. I don't know if this will actually help. I've put it to the maximum 100, and over the last couple of years, they certainly have improved. They're up to third in the world, in fact. I don't know if that's as a result of what I've done. Where are India? India all the way down. Where the hell are they? They've really dropped off. Can't find them. Wait, am I not looking properly here? We'll have a look at them in a minute because I can't see them. Anyway, competitions wise, World Cup. So they finished third for a second time. So in 2070 they lost in the second round to Brazil, and then they lost against Brazil again in the second round, and then they did manage to win the World Cup third place playoff against Germany in the 2078 World Cup, which has just happened. So that's unfortunate because Brazil twice in a row in the second round, and that's really, I suppose, a very hard team to get through. If they had an easier draw, then maybe they'd have actually been able to win this thing. In the second round of this World Cup, they beat France 3-1. Quarter final, they beat who did they beat? Portugal 4-0, very good win. And then they lost against Holland, 2-1 in the semi-final before winning that third place playoff against Germany. So they look a very good team at the moment. Oh wow, what a player. What a player he is. 181 current ability. He looks insane though. What a player. They've got someone at Man United, Song Ji, who looks very good as well, right back. 159 current ability, lots of caps. We'll have a look at the history at the end of this part 3 and just see who's got the most caps and that sort of thing. You can see a mix of teams again. Lots of players have moved abroad once again. Maybe that's because they've got a better team. Biggest value-wise is Zhang Xuang. Plays for Napoli. 52 goals in 59 games for China. 184 current ability. I'll also look at World Player of the Year. Hopefully there will be a couple of Chinese and Indians in there. So India had done the opposite of China and dropped off over the last couple of years, despite the fact I've improved everything. Maybe that won't help, I don't know. We'll have to see over time. But I've had enough and I want something to change. So we've altered something else. Their best player is Daniel Singh, plays for Cagliari. He's a goalkeeper actually. He's their top player apparently. They've got someone playing for Man United as well. Mahmoud Enamel Nessar. Looks reasonably solid. He's a left back. Good player. But they need to get better players to catch up with China because they are falling behind. Let's look at the last 3 World Cups then and see how they've got on. They didn't even qualify for the last 2. They lost in the second round against Belgium in 2070. But then the last 2 they haven't qualified for. So they're becoming a bit inconsistent at the moment. Let's hope over the next 20 years that they can make progress. Because there's only 20 years left now for one of these 2 teams to win the World Cup. Right. They still haven't won it. 2082 won by Spain, 2086 won by Argentina, and 2090 won by Italy. They've got 2 more World Cups to give it a go. Top scorer this year was actually an Indian though, Sanjay Singh. 7 goals, what a striker. 74 goals in 91 games, he's only 28. 186 current ability, has potential to get to 195, probably won't now. He's 28, but he looks incredible. What a player. Plays for Liverpool as well. So let's have a look at those in detail. China and India haven't managed to finish in those top 3 places. Once again, Morocco finished in 3rd in 2086, and in 2090 Mexico. So yeah, it's not quite gone to plan, has it, this experiment? They've got 2 more years to try and win this thing. China are 5th in the world. They've been as high as 5th recently. Best player plays for Chelsea, 29-year-old Su Jiangjun. He looks very good. But it's pretty irritating that they haven't managed to get higher than 3rd place. Let's look at recent history then. 2082, they lost against Spain in the World Cup quarter-final. 3rd in Group E of the 2086 World Cup, and then they lost against Spain again in the World Cup quarter-final in 2090. They've just had a bit of an unlucky run. The teams they've lost against in the knockout stages are very tough. Germany, Argentina, Brazil twice, Spain twice. So they've been a bit unfortunate. If they'd maybe had a slightly easier second round or quarter-final, then they could have gone on to win the World Cup. But to win the World Cup, you have to beat the best teams, remember. And they haven't managed to do that. I don't know what else they've won in recent years. I'm assuming they've won the Asian Nations Cup. We'll have a look at that at the end, just to see what they've won over the 90 years or so that they've holidayed in total. India, 13th in the world, have been as high as 9th in recent years. So they've improved, but they still haven't managed to win that elusive World Cup. Their top players, this guy's 34 now, millions of caps. Was a good player. He still is a good player. And Sanjay Singh also up there. Stanley Khan. What a name. Stanley Khan. That is brilliant. Stanley Khan. What? He had so much potential, but I assume he never reached. He's 33 now. 65 goals in 137 games for India. But could have been so much better. That is a fantastic name. That's the highlight. Norbert as well. Norbert Borges. Brilliant. Norbert and Stanley, that is fantastic. He was good. 74 goals in 88 games. Doesn't look brilliant, does it? But he's got an incredible record. He's only got 11 on finishing. Just realised that the manager's got the last name Coutinho as well. It's awful though. I probably should have improved him. Anyway, how did we already look at this? I've actually forgotten. Yeah, we did, didn't we? Or have we? I've actually forgotten what I've just looked at 2 minutes ago. No, we didn't look at this. 2082 World Cup, 3rd in Group C, so they didn't qualify. Second round, they lost against Morocco in 2086. But they went on to finish 3rd, didn't they? And then they lost against Mexico. They did get to the semi-final of the most recent one, but finished 4th in the end. So that's a bit unfortunate. They lost against Spain in the semi-final before losing against Mexico in the 3rd place playoff. So 2 more years to go. Let's see if either of these teams can win the last 2 World Cups. Please, come on. I'm afraid it wasn't to be, guys. England and Brazil won the last 2 World Cups. If we just go up the list, the biggest surprise is Saudi Arabia. Then it's probably Croatia and Colombia, but only one huge surprise in those years, with Saudi Arabia winning that World Cup. And in the last 2, once again, China and India couldn't get through into the final. Maybe in the comment section below, let me know who you think was the best team. We'll have a look at what they've won in total. But China did finish 3rd twice. India finished 3rd once. But who do you think was the best team overall? We'll have a look at Asian Nations Cup in a second. Let's look now. In fact, let's look at China first. Currently 10th in the world. They are above India, who are down in 29th actually. They've dropped off Colombia first in the world at the moment. But yeah, disappointing. You can see here all their competitions win. Confederations Cup. Let's look at the winners. See Nigeria win it, Saudi Arabia have won it. China finished 3rd in 2057 and 2nd in 2053. Don't think India are on there, are they? So the Asian Nations Cup then. Saudi Arabia have dominated in recent years. We haven't done anything to them, but they have certainly improved. I'm just going to have a quick look at them. They're 16th in the world. They've only got 85 youth rating. What have they got that's made them so good? Maybe the fact that they're a developed state instead? Foreign manager likelihood 20. FA patients only got 1. Maybe they're getting rid of managers really quickly. Reputation is higher, but that's just improved naturally throughout the game, whereas ours hasn't. I don't know. I can't explain it. They've just maybe had a golden generation over the last 20 years or so. But they've got someone called Sultan in charge. But yeah, it's strange that I haven't done anything to Saudi Arabia, but they've been incredibly successful on this save. China have won the Asian Nations Cup 6 times. India have won it 4 times. India have been runners-up 3 of the last 6 times. You know, they've been up there, India and China, but we've been beaten by a team I haven't even changed anything about, which is a bit disappointing, really. East Asian Cup, China obviously won multiple times. India aren't in that one. And you can see all the youth wins as well. They've won multiple things, but they just didn't do it in the World Cup in the end, unfortunately. They had plenty of managers over the years, actually. Not huge numbers, but one manager was there, or 2 managers they had for 13 years. One manager for 12 years, so they were quite loyal at times. Let's look at the records then, and then the best 11. So top scorer was Wei Su, 125 games, retired at the age of 36 back in 2070, I think. So it's a while ago now, but he was the top player, the top striker, played for PSG and Man City. Most goals in a match. There's a few different things here. Yelling Fan had a very good career with China as well. You can see a few interesting stats and statistics if you're interested there. The rankings, the world rankings, highest world rankings. I don't think they were ever first in the world, were they? 3rd back in the late 50s. 4th, 2nd in 2078. 2nd again in July 2091. So they've been up there, haven't they? Best 11. Oh, wrong one. Best 11. This is the best 11. This is not really much good. This is the current best 11, I guess. Can we look at overall? There we go. Overall, that's better. Appearances. You can see here, lots of people with over 100 caps. A couple players with over 100 goals. Diu Chi, 110 goals. Played for Fiorentina. Yeah, good stuff. Lots of caps. Good average ratings. Lots of goals. Wow, this guy, defender. Centre-back, got 59 goals in 103 games for China. That is brilliant. Amazing. I'm a fan of that guy. Okay, China. No, India, sorry. Oh, my brain's been frazzled since looking through all this stuff. It's hard to just concentrate sometimes. We've still got Coutinho in charge. Our friend Stanley's not on that list, but they've got someone called Colin with 2 L's. Colin. What a name. I shouldn't laugh. But yeah, the reputation of India is below Saudi Arabia's. Maybe that's had an impact. I don't know how. I mean, the reputation's definitely increased, but maybe it needed to increase more for them to really try and win that World Cup. So the last couple World Cups, let's have a quick look. 4th in World Cup Group D and 4th in World Cup Group B. It wasn't a happy ending for them. Honours wise, you can see everything they won here. We've already seen how many Asian Cups they won. Let's look at managers. They had less managers, actually. 19 years one guy, and the recent one's been there for 20 years, Coutinho. I should have made him better. I don't think I ever did. He's awful. That's really impacted them, I think. I thought I'd made the previous guy better, and then I forgot about this one. But you know, you can't change everything, because that just defeats the object of the experiment if you're having to change everything all the time. But I mean, they did all right with him, but not amazing. Records then. Wrong one. That one, that's what we want to look at. Joaquim Pereira is the top goal scorer for India. 116 goals in 105 games. That's a long time ago now. Retired in 2041. But what a player. Let's look at the best 11. This is the best 11. We've got one guy getting 160 caps for India. That's quite a long time ago now. 2049 he retired. Top goal scorer, Sanjay Singh, 101 goals. 116 goals for, we've already looked at him, Joaquim Pereira. What a player. This is Sanjay Singh, who was fantastic player. He's now an assistant manager, but he was a hero for India. Actually, it's not showing all their caps, is it? He got 109 goals in 125 games. I'm not sure why it's not showing everything. Paco was also a good player. I remember him. Can't click on him. It didn't save his history. Didn't save many, actually, did it? Saved Ahmed. But, yeah. Oh, Stanley is there. Stanley Khan's on the list. 69 goals in 137 games. And Marcus. Just have a quick whiz through the World Player of the Year list. Get all the way back. So I'm going to skip through and look out for India and China, basically. So there's no one at the moment. No massive surprises on the list, is there? In terms of nations. There's an American there. Got an English player. Brazilians heavily featured. Oh, a Japanese guy at the top. Twice in a row. There he is as well. Second. Lots of Italians. I've noticed. Colombians. The Ukraine guy there. Colombian again. Ukraine. Russia, Brazil. I don't think we're going to get anyone, guys. We're up to 2068 now, and no sign of any Chinese or Indians, which is disappointing. A Romanian. 3 Spaniards there. Keep going, Paul. Keep going. I won't bother looking at the other one if there's no Chinese or Indians on this list. Oh, and a Chinese guy. Dayu Chi finished 3rd. And 3rd again. Oh, I know. Well, there we go. Xiying Zhang won it in 2085. I've noticed it's always an old player that wins it. He won it at the age of 34. Why are they always so old? Chinese, there he is again. And at the age of 35, is that someone? No, it's someone else. We've got 2 guys. He won it he was 3rd a few years ago. So we've seen some Chinese players there. There's another one, Jing Jiangsu, 2nd place. And there again, 2nd place. I mean, if we were to holiday another 100 years, you'd probably think China would win the World Cup. Maybe not India. Maybe if we put a good manager in charge. But there's no point. This one was obviously to see if they could win it in those 100 years up to 2098 World Cup. And they didn't manage to. So they've both failed. So those of you that ticked neither, well done. You were right. There he is, Dayu Chi winning it. See, Xiying Zhang. It's pretty much the same for World Golden Ball. So well done to you guys that did predict that neither of them would win it in that period of time. They were close, they got to 3rd, both of them finished 3rd. And at times they were very high in the rankings, in the top 5 for long periods of time at times. But it wasn't to be in the end. Thank you for watching though. Hopefully in future ones we will see some success. If Saudi Arabia can win the World Cup without me even doing anything to them, surely we'll see someone win the World Cup. Obviously Indonesia did win it with my help. San Marino failed. But China and India went close, but not quite close enough. Thanks for watching, guys. Please hit that like button. I'll see you soon in a future experiment.